auditioning to play that part, I think is a big story.
No, I absolutely. And why did it go from 8 to 9?
1 over the 8.
Right, okay. No, very good. And you mentioned Peter Cook, and that was your original connection with Russell Brand. And would Peter have been a good person to play the Spirit of Truth?
Oh, absolutely. Peter was for me, the Wizard of what. He had this party that he called the What Party, and he had ministers in the What Party. I was his minister for confusion until I got sent to prison for selling some acid to a couple of News of the World reporters, and the News of the World described me as being wicked, and from then on, with Peter, I was no longer his minister for confusion. I was just wicked Weiss, which is what they described me as being in the News of the World.
Do you think you are wicked?
Wicked? No. I'm treated very badly at the moment. Ian Lee and Catherine Ball on Talk Radio, they really seem to hate me.
Oh, really? What gives you that impression?
Just things that have happened between us, things that have been said, and they totally, I don't know, they totally misunderstand what I'm talking about.
What sort of things, George? What sort of?
Me talking about the virus and trying to share views like death is better than the day of one's birth, and looking forward to dying, and then just my suggestion that they rubbish the elderly and vulnerable people like me should be invited to stay in hotels and be looked after and cared for in comfort until the virus passes away, essentially, and then their negative attitude towards me suggesting that if you bring people together, they'll all catch it somehow. It's anyway. There's a song somewhere called Captain Rainbow Fever. There was the song that I came in with 35 years ago, and I was trying to spread a virus around the world, Captain Rainbow Fever, and tune people into this most high God who has a wicked sense of humour. And anyway, I sense that the 1 hour film that we'll put together will succeed in doing that, because within the 6-minute interview, people will be guided into all truth, and will be shown things to come.
Okay, so have you approached Russell and Jonathan and Judd to audition?
Well, Judd and James Faulkner I've got at the moment, so that's the first two. I've got my singer-songwriter friend. I think he'd be up for it in Ireland. Ben Reel, RWL. I think we could get a lot of people wanting to audition to play the part. I don't think we're going to have any problem finding 9 people.
No, I think actors, as we've discussed before, I think at the moment that'd be great. Well, you've got 5 potential ones. You're looking for 9 altogether, so people can get in touch on that sort of basis, and we'll discuss that a little bit further, and obviously follow the process as we go through it. And finally, then, George, how would you like to be remembered?
How would I like to be? Nobody's ever asked me that question before. How would I like to be remembered? I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I'll have to think about it. It's with affection, I think.
Well, I think that's a great way for anybody to be remembered. George, a real pleasure, or I should now call you, as you say, the Wandering Rainbow, George. A real pleasure. We'll speak further.
Wandering Rainbow, George. Do you ever call radio stations?
Yes, absolutely. Occasionally, I've been on a few, so it's always interesting. Sometimes they even call me.
Yeah. James Whale won't take they won't even answer the phone to me on his program on Talk Radio. And he said yesterday that he likes talking about religion, essentially. I'm just wondering, could you give him a call and tell him about this film that you're involved in?
I think we should certainly look at all sorts of possibilities, and I think that'd be great. And James is very open to all sorts of things. I think the whole idea of radio is to encourage people with different views to come out and talk about them, isn't it?
Yeah, but not with me. It's Ian Lee. I've got a terrible relationship with him and Catherine Boyle at the moment.
But why do you believe it's terrible?
They're really nasty towards me. They try and rubbish everything I'm saying, just unbelievable. Because he originally brought me to that station. I got a phone call one evening, and I found myself chatting to him for nearly an hour, and I didn't realise that I was on the radio, and we were just chatting to one another. And then things developed. He was going to make seven 1-hour podcasts with me, and he never even got the first one done. He came round to my place with Catherine, and it didn't work the way I thought it was going to work, but I call him. I call him, and yeah, very, very negative towards me.
Well, I'm sure. I always like to give everybody the chance to respond directly. I'm sure. So, if he's listening, what would you like to say to him?
To Ian?
Yeah. What would you like to say?
Wake up.
Well, we certainly give him. It'd be lovely to have a chance for everybody to respond. I do like the idea of everybody being properly represented and their views represented, which is great. But we'll chat further, George. A real pleasure as always to speak.
Just one last thing. Revelation chapter 17, verse 10. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is yet to come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. That was the end of my trip of being guided to read the Bible, and that was the final confirmation that I was reading it right, and there were 5 ages in the past, and we're living in the 6th, and the 7th is yet to come, and that was January the 6th, 1976, and that was was the penultimate day of the 6-month trip that I'd been taken on. It was. I was living in Ireland, and it was snowing, and I just went out and ran around the garden. It was just the final confirmation, and then a satanic voice came into my head, and I flew over to London to have an exorcism with an exorcist who I'd had several exorcisms with before, Christopher Neil Smith. If you Google him, he was quite famous, and was a friend of R.D. Laing, and yeah, part of my story. And anyway, the story's still waiting to be told.
Well, we'll dig further into that next time. But for now, Wandering Rainbow George, thank you very much indeed for calling.
Thank you.
That was Wandering George, Wandering Rainbow George. Always interesting. I always like to give everybody the opportunity to put their sides. If any of the people mentioned in the program would like to be in touch, I'd be delighted to hear your side of the story as well. But for now, this is Andrew Eborn in Lives on Lockdown. Enjoy. I'll see you next time. Take care.